to just fill a resume. Okay, another really important portion of the application is the essay. So, take the essay as an opportunity to explain certain things that don't come across in your college application. Let's say you went through a difficult time as a freshman or a sophomore. Your parents went through a divorce or something. Maybe someone died in the family. Well, if that really impacted you, and there's no real way to get that through, the essay is a really good opportunity to round out your character and to tell those stories that don't typically get told. And those are very interesting stories. The essays that I read that really get to me are the ones that are very, very personal, that bring you almost to tears, that talk about the struggles that you have, about maybe a father that went to jail or this or that. So remember, they're reading thousands and thousands of essays, so you want to write about something that is going to stand out, that's going to really stick out. So try to put yourself in situations where those types of essays and topics can come about as well. That can come through community service opportunities. Most of these interesting stories are not going to be derived from the classroom. They're going to be about your experience outside of the classroom. So that's another incentive to get outside the classroom and do very good public service work. And in terms of the essay, I think the internet is great, but one thing that it has really harmed it's our writing skills. Right? Everyone's LOL, all these other acronyms. So writing skills have really suffered. And I think you guys should be aware of that. So read those articles online, find a writing style that works for you, and make sure that with that essay, that opening paragraph, that first sentence really pops. Okay, you want to draw a reader in because you can lose them within the first sentence. So work on that and find a style that works for you. And if you're applying to a private school, the interview is going to be a very big component. At least I like to think so. But to be honest, a lot of the decisions have already been made by the time you get to the interview. And the interview can rarely, make or break unless you have, a really phenomenal interview or you have a really terrible interview. But still treat the interview seriously. And something I would do is, really research the university that you are applying to. Come up with some valid questions, some really interesting questions. Research, go to Google News. Google. Find out what's been happening on the campuses. If you're applying to Cornell, a couple of suicides recently, right? So bring that up. Show that you're actually aware of the school that you're applying to, and bring those questions, because there's nothing more annoying to an interviewer than to have half an hour with a student who has really nothing interesting to say and no interesting questions to ask. You're not going to get a very good write-up if that's the experience. So do that research. And also, a little tip that I have is with Facebook and Google and the internet, you can actually research your interviewer too. It's true. Like I did some research on my interviewer for Harvard, and I figured, okay, I think he's African American, and he probably did this and that. And so when I went to my interview, I brought this drawing that I made on affirmative action, which won an award, and I thought, okay, well, he might be able to relate to this. So I brought it, and he was actually impressed by the drawing. So these are little things you can do. Go on Facebook, find out what your interviewer is interested in, and prepare yourself in that way so that they'll be impressed by you. Letter of recommendation, write a draft. Teachers have a lot to do, so the first thing you should do is write a draft of what you want them to say. They might not take it all, but write it anyway, and remind them of certain stories. Remember that essay that I wrote that was really great, that you loved? Put that all down there so that they have something to go by. And, okay, so that's kind of the process of applying to college. And then when it comes to choosing which college to go to, I would really urge everyone here, and I want to urge all the parents to really let your kids go, okay? Let them leave California, because California is a great place, but it's very different from the rest of the United States. And I don't think there was a better experience for me than leaving the confines of LA, where you can get by without speaking English if you want in certain areas, and going to someplace like Boston, where American history was formed, or going somewhere like New York, which is the financial capital of the world, because it's actually very difficult to have an opportunity to live in Boston or New York in the future. This is for you kids, all right? But when you go to college, this is your one chance. You have 4 years in a different city. Don't spend those 4 years back in LA with your high school friends. Okay, that's just a waste of your time. So, parents, I think most of you understand the benefits of leaving California, but some of you, I think you kind of hold your kids a little close. So let them go, and all the kids here, they should really consider applying outside of California and experiencing a different world. You know, it doesn't even have to be on the East Coast, it can even be in the Midwest. You know, just try something different, and eventually I think you're going to come back because the weather here is great, the food is great, everything here is much better. But, you know, prove that to yourself first, don't take it for granted. And another point I really want to make, and this might come as a shock to some of you people, but I would encourage everyone here and all the parents to think about having your student take a year off, okay? Taking a year off before they go to college. Now, if I could do college over, I would have taken a year off before I went to college. Instead, I took a year off during college, and I took a year off after college. So, I am a product of that kind of mindset. My brother, he went to Harvard also, and he took a year off. He went to China. I took a year off during Harvard to go to Costa Rica for a year, and then before starting work, I took a year off to go to China as well to brush up on my Chinese. And you know, you have the rest of your life to work, really. But I think there's nothing more valuable to a person than taking time off, traveling, you know, maybe getting a job abroad, maybe just studying a language, but just really growing up. Because the difference between you as a high school student, as a high school senior, and as a college freshman, there is no difference. You're the same person. Okay? But the difference between a high school environment and a college environment is dramatically, exponentially different. And a lot of students, they kind of waste the first couple of years maybe taking advantage of these newfound freedoms they have. And they might go a little crazy, right? Parents aren't around, you're gonna start drinking. I know all you're gonna do it happens. And you end up wasting a lot of time. By the time you're a junior or a senior and you decide, hey, look, I'm actually gonna graduate soon and I have to work, you've whittled away a couple of years that you're not gonna get back. So I think it's important for people to kind of mature a little bit and to learn something before they go to college. And you might actually figure out what your real career passion is. And you know, I'm not just saying this, I'm not an actual outlier in this. A lot of universities, actually all of the major private schools are now encouraging students to take time off. And this didn't happen when I was at Harvard. Actually, back then it was still kind of strange. Harvard wasn't very supportive of it. But now colleges really encourage kids. You know, at Princeton University they have a program where they might set you up with a program, abroad or something like that. All of the universities, they have programs or they have an acceptance of taking time off before you go to college. And in Europe, they do that very often. They call it a gap year. And I think it's very, very beneficial. When I went to Harvard, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I became a jack of all trades, master of none. And I was a little bit overwhelmed. It wasn't until I left college and went to Costa Rica, kind of recharged and came back, that I really took my studies seriously. So I really think it's important that you realize that is an opportunity, that it's not that strange, and that your kids aren't going to just run away and never come back. They will go back to college. And you can apply to college and defer a year. Get that out of the way, apply, get that admissions letter, and then say, look, I want to take a year off. And the colleges will be more than happy to accommodate you. So what that means for them is they have one less seat to fill the following year. So it actually helps them. There's always more students who are worthy of position than there are positions. So colleges actually look forward to that. If you can't do it before you go to college, then definitely do it while you're in college. Because once you start working, you can ask your parents if they can take a year off. No, you're stuck. All right. So that's kind of the only period that you have when you can actually try something new. So don't waste that opportunity. And in general, I just want to say, be atypical, right? I think there's a really heavy emphasis among the Asian American community to pursue careers or interests in the maths and sciences, but you want to be different. You don't want to be the same old story. So if you have a child that's interested in film, who has a promising skill set in film, encourage them. That'll give them a better chance of getting in than just being another biology major, or someone who's good at math and science, right? You have to understand who you're competing with. You're competing with everyone in this room. So you want to stand out from this room by being atypical. So really encourage your kids to do the different things. Don't always just go down the same path. And is anyone here still deciding which high school to go to? Do they have kids that they're debating? Because I know someone was talking about Troy versus Walnut. Okay. Well, I'll tell you a story in case you have kids coming up the pipeline and you're deciding where to go. I went to Wilson High School.